Then divorce me, Rowan. Go on, do it. That was the first thing my wife screamed in my face as she staggered out of an Uber at 1 a.m., still carrying the smell of that damn rooftop nightclub. And another man. Her heel was snapped, her hair a mess, and she jabbed her finger at me like I was the problem. But I didn't yell back. I didn't ask who she'd been wrapped around inside Midnight Ledger. I didn't even blink. I just pulled out my phone and sent her a picture of her drawer, wide open, with the burner phone glowing inside like a silent confession. Her entire expression collapsed in 1 second. And if you want to see how fast her world fell apart after that, subscribe and stay with me. This story only gets darker from here. That night in front of the Uber wasn't where my story started. It was just where it finally snapped. I'm 42. My name's Rowan. I work remote as an IT systems consultant. On paper, it's a good life. Quiet street in the Portland suburbs, little 2-story house with a maple tree out front, mortgage paid on time, neighbors who wave when they water their lawns. For years, I told myself I was lucky. I had a smart, successful wife, a stable job, a roof over my head. So what if I had to swallow my pride sometimes? That's what being a good husband is, right? I became the nice guy. The one who always backed down first, even when I knew I was right. The one who said, "You're right, I'm overreacting," just to stop another argument. I apologized for my tone, for my timing, for my issues, while she walked away clean. Somewhere along the way, our house stopped feeling like my home and started feeling like her stage. I thought keeping the peace meant losing a few arguments. I didn't realize it meant losing myself and turning into a doormat in my own damn living room. Looking back, the signs were there long before the burner phone. First time was a lipstick stain on one of Sloane's scarves. Not her shade, not even close. I held it up, half joking. "Since when do you wear bright red?" She laughed, a little too hard. "Relax, it's just a coworker's joke. We were messing around at lunch." I felt stupid for even asking, so I dropped it. Then came Valentine's Day. I was trying to book a hotel downtown. Typed in her name, Sloane Mercer, and the system auto-filled. A man's name she barely worked with. She snatched the phone from my hand, rolled her eyes, blamed it on a system glitch. I remember the heat in my chest, that tight, buzzing feeling. Something was off. Every bone in my body knew it. But instead of listening to myself, I turned on myself. Maybe I'm just too sensitive. Maybe I'm jealous. Maybe I'm broken. Day by day, walking through that front door stopped feeling like coming home and started feeling like stepping onto a minefield. I kept telling myself I was crazy. Turns out, I wasn't. Here's the part that really messes with your head. To everyone else, Sloane was damn near perfect. At work, she was the star. Senior project coordinator at a big architecture firm downtown. The one they put in front of clients. The one they called a natural leader. Online, she was full of empowerment quotes and boss lady selfies. Know your worth. Never settle. Posts about strong women not tolerating weak men. Racking up likes from people who had no idea what she was like behind closed doors. With her family, she was the golden daughter. Judge Mercer's pride. The successful, polished, put-together one who married a good, stable man. At dinners, her mom would smile at me and say, "You're good for Sloane. You keep her grounded." But at home, it was different. Every argument ended with some version of, "You hold me back," or, "If you were more ambitious, maybe I'd respect you more." After a while, I started to believe her. Maybe I was the problem. Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe I should just be grateful she stayed. She built this perfect persona for the world and slowly turned me into the villain in my own story. What nobody saw was what it cost to keep that illusion alive. I paid the mortgage. I kept the lights on. I handled the boring, steady parts of life, insurance, repairs, groceries, retirement contributions, so she could shine. I told myself that's what a man does. He carries the weight so his family doesn't have to. But somewhere along the way, it stopped feeling like carrying and started feeling like being used. She'd take credit for the life we built, then talk to me like I was some sad, small man she'd outgrown. Every dig, every eye roll, every "God, Rowan, grow up," chipped away at something I didn't even realize was breaking. My sense of being a man. I'd lie in bed next to her at night, staring at the ceiling while she scrolled her phone, laughing at whatever or whoever she was texting. and I felt like a ghost in my own marriage. Present, but invisible. I remember thinking, is this what marriage is supposed to feel like? Like you're renting space in your own life? The truth is, I didn't want much. A safe home, a loyal wife, some basic respect. But being the nice guy, the peacemaker, the one who always swallowed it, wasn't saving my marriage. It was costing me my self-respect. One night she texted, "Running late. Big deadline with the team. Don't wait up." Typical. It was close to midnight when I heard the front door, her heels on the hardwood, the fridge opening, a cabinet slam. I stayed in bed, pretending to sleep. A few minutes later, the bathroom light clicked on and the fan started humming. Then I heard it. Her voice. Low. Soft. The voice she never used with me anymore. I couldn't hear every word, but I caught enough. A man's name I didn't recognize. A quiet laugh I hadn't heard in years. And then the line that broke something in me. Relax. He won't go anywhere. He never does. I stood there in the hallway, hand on the bathroom doorframe, fingers actually shaking. I could see my reflection in the dark glass. This grown man frozen outside his own bathroom like a scared kid. In that moment, I realized what I was to her. Not a husband, not a partner, just a safe, soft place to land, a financial cushion, an emotional punching bag she was sure would never leave. He never does. That sentence cut deeper than any affair ever could. A few days after that, the universe handed me the truth in the dumbest way possible. I was on the couch, trying to watch a game. Remote died. No batteries. I checked the junk drawer in the kitchen. Nothing. So I opened one of Sloane's side drawers in the hallway cabinet, the one she always closed a little too fast when I walked by. Inside was the usual clutter. A half-burned travel candle, an expired gym card, a couple of folded hotel receipts she'd sworn were girls' trips. And then I saw it. A cheap, off-brand phone. No case. Powered off. Tucked so far in the back, it almost touched the wall. My stomach dropped. People who aren't hiding anything don't need burner phones. I just stood there for a second, drawer still open, feeling that cold electric buzz in my chest. The kind you get right before a car crash. I picked it up. It was light. Too light. Like a secret. I plugged it into a charger we kept in the kitchen. The screen stayed black for a long, quiet minute. Then finally, it lit up. And that was the moment the whole story really started. I sat alone at the kitchen table while that burner phone booted up. House dead quiet. Just the hum of the fridge and that cheap little screen trying to wake up. When it finally did, a notification bar popped up. Threads of messages from a number saved as one letter. X. I opened the first one. A selfie of a guy I'd never seen before. Smirking, tattoo on his neck. Then another. Sloane, leaning into him, cheek to cheek. Then the texts. Miss you already. Last night was insane. Then the voice notes. I hit play and heard her laugh. Not the annoyed, clipped laugh she gave me at home. The soft, flirty one I hadn't heard in years. Her voice saying baby to someone who sure as hell wasn't me. Every message I opened peeled something off my chest. An excuse. A lie. A story she'd spun. I kept scrolling until the room felt like it was tilting. I had to sit back, press my palms into the table just to steady myself. For the first time in a long time, it was crystal clear. I wasn't crazy. I was being betrayed. You'd think that's the part where I smashed something. Threw the phone. Woke the whole neighborhood. I didn't. I just stared at that screen a little longer, then powered it down. Unplugged the charger. Set the burner back in her drawer. Tucked behind the candle and the old gym card. Exactly where I'd found it. By the time Sloane came home that night, I'd already decided. No more yelling. No more begging. No more giving her a show. She walked in, dropped her bag, complained about being exhausted from work. I asked how her day was. She lied to my face without even blinking. And I smiled. I leaned in, kissed her goodnight, told her to get some sleep. On the outside, I was the same old Rowan, the nice guy, the safe bet, the man who never goes anywhere. On the inside, I was memorizing everything. The way she talked, the names she slipped, the times she went late for deadlines. I was already building a file in my head. That night, I didn't stop caring about the marriage. I stopped protecting her from the consequences of what she was doing. That was the night I stopped being her doormat and started being her quiet storm. After that night, life went back to normal. At least that's what it looked like from the outside. I still cooked dinner, still logged into work calls from my little home office, still took the trash out on Tuesdays and mowed the lawn on Saturdays. Sloan still rolled in late with new excuses. Client drinks ran long. Team crunching deadlines. Same stories, different outfits. But behind all of that, something else was happening. Every time she left the house, I took that burner phone out, backed up a little more. Photos, messages, call logs, location pins. I copied it all to a hidden cloud folder on my laptop, tucked under a boring name, Photoshop presets. She never once asked what I was working on. She barely looked at me anymore. I'd smile, nod, ask about her long days, then go back to quietly building a record of her double life. On the outside, I was calm. On the inside, I was on fire. This stopped being about jealousy. This was about survival, my sanity, my future, my name. I wasn't weak. I was patient. And patience is dangerous when it finally snaps. Day 11 is when everything lined up. Sloan came out of the bedroom in a dress I'd never seen before. Short, tight, loud. The kind of thing you wear when you want to be noticed, not when you're buried in spreadsheets. I glanced up from my laptop. "Big client meeting?" I asked. She smirked. "Girls' night, Midnight Ledger, don't wait up." That name, Midnight Ledger, hit me right in the gut. Rooftop bar, dark corners, plenty of places to disappear. "Red Flag Central," my buddy once called it. I just nodded. "Have fun," I said. "Be safe." She thought I meant it the same way I always had. She grabbed her bag, checked her lipstick in the hallway mirror, and walked out the door like she owned every room she stepped into. But this time, when the door clicked shut behind her, something shifted. I didn't feel abandoned. I felt ready. I opened my laptop, checked the Photoshop presets folder, scrolled through the emails I'd drafted but never sent. Tonight, I told myself, she gives me the last piece of the puzzle. When that door closed behind Sloan, I knew it wasn't just another night out. It was the first step toward my freedom. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. It was Sloan. She'd sent a photo from Midnight Ledger. Neon lights, crowded rooftop, her body wrapped around some guy. His arm was locked around her waist, his face buried in her neck. Caption: "Relax, it's just dancing." I almost ignored it. Then I saw it. The tattoo on his neck. A crying baby. I zoomed in. Same ink I'd seen in the burner phone selfies. Same angle, same smirk. X. My chest didn't explode. It went quiet. No more doubt. No more, maybe I'm overthinking this. I didn't reply. No, who is he? No, what the hell, Sloan? Instead, I walked down the hall, opened her drawer, and took out the burner phone. I turned it on, let the screen glow to life, and placed it right back where she'd hidden it. Drawer wide open, secrets lit up like a crime scene. Then I stepped back, lifted my own phone, and took a picture of the drawer. That was the moment I stopped being just the man she lied to and became the man holding the evidence. I sent her the photo of the open drawer. No paragraph. No rage. Just one word under it. Oops. The message status flipped to seen. No typing bubble. No instant excuse. Just silence. 3 of the longest minutes of my life. Long enough to hear my own pulse in my ears. Long enough to feel years of gaslighting crack and fall off my shoulders. I set the phone down on the counter and put the kettle on. If she wanted a show, she wasn't getting it. I was done performing pain for her. The kitchen was calm. 1 mug, 1 tea bag, steam rising. Then my phone buzzed again. But it wasn't her. It was a notification from the Uber account we shared. Pickup, Midnight Ledger, home, ETA, 3 minutes. I took a slow sip of tea and glanced at the front door. She had finally realized what that one little picture meant. I'd seen behind the curtain. The doormat had moved. And now she was racing home, not to confess, but to try and put the fire out in a house she'd already burned to the ground. The front door didn't just open, it exploded. It slammed into the wall so hard the frames rattled. Sloane stumbled in barefoot, heels in one hand, mascara streaked down her face, hair wild from the wind and the club. She looked less like a boss lady and more like someone whose life had just been hit by a truck. Her eyes went straight to the drawer. She didn't even look at me, didn't say hi, didn't say we need to talk. She sprinted to the hallway cabinet, yanked the drawer open, and snatched up the burner phone like it was a live grenade. The first thing out of her mouth wasn't an apology, it was a demand. "What did you do, Rowan?" I was sitting at the dining table, mug of tea in my hand, like I'd just been waiting for a late package. I met her eyes and, for once, didn't flinch. "You told me to divorce you," I said quietly. "I'm just considering it." Her jaw tightened. She wasn't used to that tone from me. For the first time in our marriage, I wasn't the one scrambling to fix it. I wasn't on defense. In my own home, the power finally shifted. She tried to recover fast. "I was drunk, okay? It was a joke. You're overreacting," she snapped, clutching the burner like she could squeeze the truth back into it. Her eyes were wild, scanning my face, the room, the table. Then her voice dropped, sharp and scared. "Tell me you didn't open it, Rowan. Tell me you didn't back it up." That's when I felt it. Not rage, not heartbreak. Control. I leaned back in my chair. "You think I just found it tonight?" I asked. Her breath hitched. "I've had that phone for over a week," I went on. "Every text, every picture, every hotel receipt from your little girls' trips last month that somehow weren't booked under any of your friends' names." The color drained from her face. The anger in her eyes flickered into something else. Real fear. You went through my stuff?" she managed. "No," I said. "I went through my stuff. My life. My marriage. My reality. You just happened to leave your lies in the middle of it." For years, she'd counted on me being clueless, soft, easy to handle. In that moment, she finally understood. I wasn't in the dark anymore, and I wasn't playing her game. When the fear didn't work, she switched to her favorite card. "If you love me, you won't ruin my life," Sloane said, voice shaking just enough to sound human. "You're really going to throw everything away over a few stupid mistakes? After everything we've built?" I let her talk, let her pace, let her sell the same story she'd been selling me for years. She reached for me, eyes wet. "Rowan, please, we can fix this. Just delete it. Don't send anything. If you love me, you won't—" I cut her off. "One night?" I asked. "1 year? 1 burner phone?" I paused, watching her face. "1 baby?" That word hit harder than any scream. She went completely still. The color left her cheeks. The burner phone slipped from her hand and clattered to the floor, because she knew exactly what I'd seen. The messages, the clinic dates, the late-night texts about "not sure if it's yours," that were never meant for me. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. In that silence, we both understood the same thing. I wasn't guessing anymore. I knew. After baby, there was nothing left to argue about. She started stuttering half-formed sentences, excuses, rewrites, damage control. "It wasn't like that. You don't understand. I was scared. I didn't know what to do." I didn't ask her to explain. For the first time, I didn't want her version. I'd seen enough. I picked my keys up off the counter, reached for my jacket from the back of the chair. "Where are you going?" she snapped, panic edging back into anger. "Don't walk away from me, Rowan. We're not done talking." "Yeah," I said quietly. "We are." I didn't slam doors, didn't yell something dramatic over my shoulder. I just walked out of the house I'd paid for and realized it had never really been mine. The night air was cold and wet, Portland drizzle, thin but constant. I got in the car, started the engine, and pulled away from the curb. Most nights after a fight, I'd end up on the couch or in the guest room, waiting for it to blow over so life could go back to normal. Not this time. As the wipers dragged across the windshield, one thought settled in, heavy but clear. Tonight, I'm not going to the couch. I'm gone. I didn't drive to a bar. I didn't go crash on some buddy's couch and drink myself numb. I drove across town to Janelle's apartment. Janelle Mercer Hawkins, Sloane's older sister, maid of honor at our wedding. The only person who'd ever quietly asked me, "Is she treating you right?" and actually meant it. It was almost 1:30 a.m. when she opened the door. Hair in a messy bun, old college t-shirt on, eyes instantly narrowing when she saw my face. "What happened?" she asked. No small talk, no fake smile. I didn't answer. I just held up the little USB drive. "Can I show you something?" We sat at her kitchen table while she plugged it into her laptop. I watched her scroll through the screenshots, the messages, the hotel receipts, the photos of Sloane wrapped around X, the voice notes. Her expression shifted in slow motion. Confusion, then shock, then that heavy, familiar sadness people get when something they suspected finally becomes undeniable. She didn't defend her sister. Didn't say, "I'm sure there's an explanation." Didn't ask what I did to cause it. She closed the laptop, looked right at me, and asked the one question nobody else had. "Rowan, are you okay?" For the first time that night, I felt seen. We sat there in silence for a minute, just the hum of her fridge and the weight of what she'd just seen. Then Janelle took a breath like something had been sitting on her chest for a long time. "There's something I haven't told you," she said. My stomach dropped. "About what?" "About the baby," she replied quietly. I froze. She told me Sloane had gone to the family months ago crying, saying she'd had a miscarriage, that it had been so hard on the marriage, that I was too fragile to talk about it openly. Janelle said she believed her, until the day she went to a clinic for her own appointment and saw Sloane there. Not alone. "With him," she said. "It wasn't you." She'd seen the intake form. She remembered the name on the paperwork. My name wasn't anywhere on it. I just sat there staring at a knot in her wooden table, feeling my whole life tilt. That's when it clicked. This wasn't one bad night. It wasn't one stupid mistake at a rooftop bar. It was a system. A whole architecture of lies built over months, maybe years. And I'd been living inside it, calling it my marriage. I'm not going to lie to you. Sitting at Janelle's table, hearing the full story about the baby, it felt like my chest caved in. There's a kind of pain that doesn't make you cry or scream. It just makes it hard to breathe. That's what this was. All the nights I blamed myself. All the times I wondered if I was just paranoid or insecure. They lined up in my head like a bad movie I'd watched on repeat. But under the pain, something else started to settle in. Clarity. No more maybe I overreacted. No more maybe she just messed up once. No more maybe it's my fault. It wasn't a glitch. It wasn't a phase. It was who she chose to be. I looked at Janelle and said it out loud, more to myself than to her. I'm done protecting her. Not said in anger, said like a decision. I knew what I needed now. Evidence, witnesses, a clean plan. Not drama, not chaos, just the truth, documented and delivered. If she wanted to live like there were no consequences, fine. I was done being the shield that kept them from reaching her. I checked into the Marwood Hotel downtown an hour later. Business place, neutral colors, no memories. The room was simple. Queen bed, desk, small window overlooking a parking lot. For the first time in years, I was in a space with zero trace of Sloane. No perfume on the dresser, no stray hair ties on the nightstand, just my bag and my thoughts. I set my laptop on the desk, opened it, and logged into the cloud. Folder name, Photoshop presets. Inside, every screenshot, every hotel confirmation, every text thread with X, every timestamp, every location ping. I started sorting, by date, by place, by person. Patterns appeared. Nights she'd said, girls trip. Weekends she'd claimed, work emergency. They all had matching digital footprints now. Then I opened the drafts I'd been quietly building. Anonymous submission. HR concern. Documentation of inappropriate conduct. No insults, no exaggerations, just receipts. Somewhere between attaching files and rewriting subject lines, it hit me. For years, she'd been controlling the narrative. Gaslighting, rewriting, performing. Now I was the one writing the story. Same life, same facts. The only difference was, this version had the truth in it. Sitting at that hotel desk, I opened a blank email and typed in one address. HR at her company. No rage, no name calling, just facts. I listed dates, hotel names, time-stamped photos of Sloan and her married boss, Dax, checking in together on company trips. I attached screenshots from the burner phone, messages about using the corporate card, about keeping this between us, about meetings that didn't exist on any calendar. Subject line: documentation of inappropriate relationship involving a supervisor and subordinate. I wrote it like a report, not a revenge letter. Who, what, when, where, proof, no opinions, no threats, just here is what's happening, here is evidence, do what you're required to do. I saved it as a draft. Then I opened another window, their anonymous ethics tip line, and copied the same information there. 2 channels, same truth. And sitting there in that generic hotel chair, it hit me. I didn't have to destroy her. I just had to stop covering for her. The truth was heavy enough on its own. Once the HR drafts were done, there was one person left I couldn't keep in the dark. Judge Mercer, Sloan's mother. The woman who once told me over Christmas dinner, "You calm Sloan, she's lucky to have you." I scrolled through the burner phone videos until I found a frame that said everything without saying too much. Sloan and Dax in bed, not naked, but close enough that there was no co-worker excuse left. I screenshotted a single clear still, no filters, no edits, just reality. Then I opened a new text thread to her mother and attached the image. I didn't write a paragraph, didn't vent, didn't ask for anything. I just typed one line. "I thought you deserved the truth." My thumb hovered for a second, then I hit send. After that, I turned my phone off and set it face down on the desk. No waiting for typing bubbles, no bracing for her reply. With one simple message, the golden daughter version of Sloan she'd sold to her family, finally had to stand next to who she really was. I slept like trash that night, not because I regretted anything, but because my brain wouldn't shut up. Around 7 a.m., I finally turned my phone back on. First thing that popped up was an email notification from Sloan's company, one of those generic internal blasts I was still copied on as a spouse from some event list. Effective immediately, an internal investigation has been opened regarding a potential violation of our conduct policy involving a supervisor and subordinate. I didn't need them to name names. I already knew. Next, voicemail. Judge Mercer. I hit play. Her voice was clipped, furious, not at me. "I am disgusted," she started. Then, after a pause, softer but colder, "Whatever you need, I will help." That alone would have been enough, but the universe wasn't done. About an hour later, the front desk at the Marwood called my room. "Mr. Hale, there's a woman downstairs asking for you," the receptionist said. "She's very upset. Security is escorting her out now. We just wanted to make you aware." I didn't ask who. I didn't have to. In the span of one morning, Sloan's job, her family image, and her control over the story all cracked at once. For once, I wasn't the one falling apart. After that, my phone turned into an alarm system. Missed call after missed call from Sloan, then unknown numbers, then blocked ones. The voicemails came next. One started with, "You are insane, Rowan. This is harassment." Another, "We can fix this. Just call me back, please." Then, "If you send anything else, I'll get a lawyer. This is defamation." The whiplash was almost funny. Rage, fear, begging, threats, on a loop. I listened to a few, not all. They all sounded the same anyway. Not sorry she did it, just sorry it finally cost her something. Texts lit up the screen. "You're overreacting. You're ruining my life. Please, I'm scared. Just talk to me." I read them the way you watch a movie you've already seen. I knew every line of her script by heart. Turn herself into the victim. Make me the unstable one. Drag me back into playing the rescuer. This time, I didn't bite. I started blocking numbers, one by one. No anger, just done. And somewhere between "you're crazy" and "please don't do this," I realized, for the first time, her panic wasn't my responsibility. Her mess was hers to sit in, not mine to mop up anymore. It didn't take long for the legal threats to show up. A couple days after everything blew up, I got a call at work, from a number I didn't recognize. I picked up, and a man introduced himself as Sloan's attorney. Slick voice, lots of confidence. He started in with, "Potential violations of privacy, possible defamation. My client is very distressed." You know the script. Old me would have panicked, tried to explain myself, overshared. This version of me didn't. Sounds serious, I said calmly. You can take this up with my lawyer. Then I gave him Trina Holt's number and hung up. Trina already had everything: screenshots, location data, the burner backup, Janelle's statement, plus another coworker who'd quietly confirmed the office rumors once the investigation started. The second time Sloane's lawyer called, he didn't dial me. He dialed Trina. That conversation was a lot shorter. Later, she called and summed it up in one line. They don't want this going to court. For the first time, it wasn't just emotions on my side. It was facts, law, and someone who knew exactly how to use both. The game wasn't being played on her terms anymore. Once the dust around HR and lawyers started to settle, there was one last document to finish. Trina and I sat in her office going line by line through the divorce papers. Grounds, irreconcilable differences. Then, in black and white, documented infidelity and breach of trust. No drama, no flowery language, just a legal acknowledgement of what she'd spent years hiding. We added provisions to protect me, financially, legally, emotionally. Nothing petty, just fair. The kind of fair she never offered me. When everything was ready, Trina slid the final pages across the desk. "Whenever you're ready," she said. My name was already printed there, Rowan Hale. I looked at it for a second. Not at the marriage I'd wanted, but at the one I actually got. Then I picked up the pen and signed. My hand didn't shake. We FedExed the packet to Sloane's new place. Not our home. That was just an address on paperwork now. A property I would leave behind like an old version of myself. No big speech, no last-minute doubt. Just ink on paper, closing a chapter she'd been tearing apart for years. You'd think after HR, her mom, and the divorce papers, she'd go quiet. She didn't. She just changed stages. A few days later, people started sending me screenshots. Sloane's Instagram, her LinkedIn, pictures of her holding a coffee mug, sunlight by the window. Caption, "Healing, not hating." Another one, a gym selfie with some empowerment quote about rising above small men who can't handle strong women. Then came the one where she tagged me, publicly. Some men break under pressure, others were never strong to begin with. Our mutual friends started texting. "What's going on between you two? Is everything okay?" She seems hurt. I could have dropped the receipts right there, posted screenshots, exposed every lie. Instead, I said nothing. No comments, no counters, no vague posts back. Watching her spin this narrative online, it finally clicked. She wasn't sorry about what she did. She was just terrified of losing the image she'd built. The boss lady, the golden daughter, the victim of a weak man. And once you see that clearly, it's hard to feel anything but disgust and a little bit of pity. I didn't want to play her social media game, but I also wasn't interested in letting her rewrite the story unchecked. So one night, in that little hotel room, I opened a blank page and started writing. Not as Rowan Hale, just as a man telling the truth. I laid it all out from start to finish. The late nights, the gaslighting, the burner phone, the rooftop club, the HR emails, the baby that was never mine. No names, no company tags, no photos that showed faces. I blurred identifying details, changed a few surface things, kept every core fact intact. I wasn't trying to defame anyone. I was documenting a pattern. When I was done, I posted it to a small anonymous blog site. No promotion, no link on my own pages. Then I sent that one single link to one person, a former coworker of hers, the same person she'd thrown under the bus in a department reshuffle a year earlier. A few hours later, that coworker shared the story on their own account with one caption. Turns out, karma writes in full paragraphs. And that line did more damage to her image than anything I could have screamed. It didn't go viral in a loud way. It was slower, uglier, people quietly connecting dots. That anonymous blog started bouncing around certain circles. Someone recognized the crying baby tattoo. Someone else recognized the HR suspension notice. The strong woman in architecture with the motivational posts suddenly looked a lot like the unnamed woman in the story. Then Dax disappeared. His social accounts? Gone. No more gym selfies, no more rooftop bar tags. His wife, though, she stayed online. One day she posted a plain black screen with one line. Trust is harder to rebuild than it is to destroy. No names, no tags, but everyone close enough knew. A cousin on Sloane's side left a public comment under one of her old photos. Disgusted. Don't contact us again. No explanation. Just a door slamming in full view. And then, finally, she reached out to me. Not by text, but by email. I didn't think you had it in you, she wrote. No apology, no accountability. Just shocked that I'd stopped lying down for her. I replied with one line, nothing you didn't already do to yourself, because that was the truth. All I did was stop standing in the way of her consequences. After that email, she went quiet. No more late-night calls, no more number changes, no more walls of text swinging between "you're crazy" and "please save me." It was like a switch flipped. She retreated into whatever was left of the life she'd tried to build on lies, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't part of the fallout. I lay on the stiff hotel bed at the Marwood, staring at the ceiling, and realized something simple but huge. Silence didn't scare me anymore. For years, her silence had been a punishment. The cold shoulder, the locked bathroom door, the "we're done talking" shutdowns that left me pacing the house, wondering what I'd done wrong this time. Now, silence meant I didn't have to guess her mood when I turned the key. Didn't have to rehearse conversations in my head on the drive home. Didn't have to brace for the next dig, the next rewrite of reality. That night, I actually slept. No dreams of arguments, no imaginary comebacks at 3 a.m., just 8 solid hours of nothing. And when I woke up, it hit me. Silence isn't a weapon anymore. It's peace. Eventually, I had to go back. Not to talk, not to get closure, just to get my stuff. The house in the suburbs looked exactly the same from the outside. Same maple tree, same porch light, same welcome mat I'd picked out. It was the inside that felt different. It didn't feel like mine anymore. It felt vacant, even with furniture in it. I walked through each room slowly. The kitchen where I'd apologized 100 times just to stop a fight. The living room where I'd slept on the couch more nights than I'd slept in our bed. The hallway where I'd heard her whisper, "He never goes anywhere." I didn't take much. A few shirts and jeans, some books I actually cared about, my grandfather's watch from the top drawer, the expensive decor, the big TV, the art she bragged about online. I left it all. Let her sit in the pretty shell she'd hollowed out. On my way out, I set my key on the kitchen counter. No note, no last message, nothing to explain. Then I opened the door, stepped outside, and this time, I didn't look back. Not once. My new place wasn't much to look at, and that's exactly why I loved it. A small studio above Hawthorne Books and Coffee, an old corner bookstore that smells like paper, dust, and burnt espresso. The first morning I walked in with my boxes, the owner, an older guy named Wes, handed me a free coffee and said, "You the tech guy they told me about?" We made a simple deal. I fix his ancient POS system and Wi-Fi when it breaks. He keeps my mug full. Upstairs, the studio had creaky floors, one window, and just enough space for a bed, a desk, and a small shelf. No marble countertops, no designer furniture, no trace of Sloane. What it did have was quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel like punishment. Just the soft ding of the bell downstairs when customers come in, the low murmur of people talking about books instead of drama. Sometimes I'd crack the window and just sit there, listening to the faint clink of cups and the door chime. For the first time in a very long time, my space didn't feel like a stage for someone else's performance. It just felt like mine. Life above the bookstore settled into a rhythm that felt almost quiet enough to hear myself think. I cut back on the corporate grind and started taking on freelance IT work. Small businesses, local offices, people who actually said thank you when I fixed something. Less stress, fewer politics, more control over my time. Mornings, I'd grab a coffee from Wes downstairs and sit by the window with an old notebook. At first, I didn't even know what to write. My hand hovered over the page like it forgot how to be honest. But slowly, it came back. I wrote about anger, about shame, about how stupid I felt, then about relief, about space, about not hearing someone sigh every time I walked into a room. I started walking in the mornings too. No destination, no constant checking my phone to see if Sloane was mad, drunk, or ignoring me. My needs got real simple. A small place that was mine, work that didn't eat my soul, and a mind that wasn't constantly on fire. One day, pen in hand, it hit me. I didn't need a perfect marriage. I needed a safe self. I met her on a Tuesday. She was standing at the counter downstairs, arguing gently with Wes about which coffee was the least burnt. She laughed, and it wasn't flirty or forced, just easy, normal. We ended up at the same small table, sharing the only 2 chairs left. She had a paperback mystery. I had my laptop open but wasn't really working. We talked about books first, then about the neighborhood, then about how Wes pretended not to like people but clearly did. At some point, I says it without dressing it up. I'm recently divorced. I waited for the usual reaction, awkward silence, quick subject change, or that look people give you like you're a bomb that might go off. Instead, she just nodded. Rough? She asked. Yeah, I said, but necessary. She didn't dig for details, didn't villainize my ex or turn me into some tragic hero. She just let it be what it was. Later, when I thought about her, I caught myself wanting to say, she saved me. But that would have been a lie. She didn't save me. I had to do that myself. She was just proof that there was life, simple, human, decent life, after the wreckage. If you're a guy listening to this, let me say something you probably already know in your gut. Being the nice guy with no boundaries is expensive. I spent years thinking my job was to absorb everything. Her moods, her bad days, her insults disguised as jokes. I thought if I stayed calm, if I stayed quiet, if I kept saying it's fine, somehow the relationship would stay together. What actually happened was simpler. Every time I swallowed something I should have confronted, a piece of my self-respect went with it. I remember all the times I chose silence just to avoid another blow-up, letting her rewrite arguments, letting her tell friends and family her version while I stood there, nodding along like it was true, convincing myself that speaking up made me too sensitive or too dramatic. Here's what I finally learned. Tute, being kind, steady, decent, does not mean letting someone walk all over you. A good man is not a quiet punching bag. A good man has a spine, not just a soft heart. So now, if you ask me what a good man is, I'd put it this way. Being a good man doesn't mean being a quiet one. People talk about cheating like it's one big event. One night, one affair, one explosion. That's not how it felt from the inside. Betrayal for me was like a dull knife. It didn't slice clean. It scraped, day after day. Little lies, little dismissals, little times she made me feel insane for noticing what I saw. It makes you doubt everything. Your perception, your memory, your worth. You start asking, did I hear that wrong? Did I imagine that? Maybe I am the problem. And that's the most dangerous part. Because betrayal doesn't just break a marriage. It rewires you. It changes the way you trust, the way you enter a room, the way you read every pause, every text, every late night. I won't romanticize it. It didn't make me stronger in some motivational poster way. It made me harder, sharper, less willing to ignore red flags, even my own. But here's the other side. Once the dust settled, I knew my lines. What I would never tolerate again. What I would walk away from the first time, not the 50th. Betrayal reprogrammed something in me, not to hate love, but to stop abandoning myself to keep someone else comfortable. If you're listening to this and some part of it feels uncomfortably familiar, this part is for you. You've probably heard it all, right? You're too sensitive. You're too jealous. You're overthinking. All men are insecure. You're just worse. After a while, you stop trusting your gut and start trusting their story about you. Let me say this as plainly as I can. Your intuition is not weakness. Noticing patterns is not insanity. Asking for basic respect is not being controlling. Half the time, you're not crazy. You're just being lied to. You are allowed to decide that what's happening to you is not okay. You are allowed to leave a situation that's eating you alive. You don't need their permission, their approval, or their agreement with your version of events. You don't have to prove the pain to the person causing it. And here's the line I wish someone had said to me sooner. You don't have to burn your life down to save yourself. You just have to walk out the door. I need to be clear about something. Pain doesn't give you a free pass to turn into a wrecking ball. Yeah, I exposed what Sloan was doing. Yeah, I sent things to HR. Yeah, her life came apart. But I didn't make up a single thing. I didn't smear her with lies. I didn't try to torch every part of her existence just because she torched mine. All I did was stop shielding her from the consequences of her own choices. There's a difference between revenge and responsibility. Freedom doesn't mean do whatever, hit whoever, collateral damage be damned. Freedom means you finally choose how you respond, and you live with that choice. For me, the truth was enough. It always is. Looking back, I don't feel like I won. This wasn't a game. There was no trophy. I was a doormat who learned how to say no. A man who went from apologizing for being hurt to protecting the part of himself that was still alive underneath all that hurt. If I had to put it in one sentence, it'd be this. I didn't win. I just stopped losing myself. So that's the whole arc. It started with a gut feeling I kept apologizing for. Suspicion I let her talk me out of. Then a burner phone in a drawer, a rooftop nightclub, and a picture that finally matched the way my chest had felt for years. From there it was simple, even if it wasn't easy. I gathered what I needed. I stopped playing dumb. I let the truth do what it does. At work, at home, online. And it all traces back to that one drunk line in the driveway. Then divorce me. She threw it at me like a dare, certain I'd never take it. In the end, those words didn't break me. They freed me. When she finally wrote, "I didn't think you had it in you," all I had left to say was, "Nothing you didn't already do to yourself." If there's a lesson in all this, it's simple. Guard your self-respect. Draw your lines. Walk away from the fire that's burning you down. If any part of my story hit something in you, share yours. In the comments, in a journal, with a friend. Just stop carrying it alone. You're not as powerless as they made you feel.